We don't talk about aging enough, not honestly, not vulnerably, not with the raw truth it deserves. Growing old isn't just about gray hairs and slower steps. It's about what we've lost, what we've never dared, and what we still can choose if we're brave enough. Old age becomes a trap the moment we stop living boldly, but it doesn't have to be that way. This is about waking up before it's too late, because aging doesn't steal your life, numbing, pretending, and playing small does. Let's talk about what you need to do before time slips through your fingers. There's a quiet moment, often in our 30s, maybe 40s, when we start choosing comfort over courage without even realizing it. We stop leaping. We stop questioning. We start calculating risk in a way that chokes the very part of us that once dared to believe we were meant for more. You know that voice? The one that used to say, go for it, what if it works? Somewhere along the way, we taught it to whisper, or worse, we stopped listening altogether. It's not your fault. We were raised to believe that a predictable life is a successful one. Stay safe, follow the rules, don't stir the waters, get the job, buy the house, keep your head down. And so we build lives like fortresses, strong on the outside, but echoing with emptiness within. And we call that security. But security without soul, that's a prison, one that looks like comfort on the outside, but feels like quiet desperation on the inside. We cling to what we know because it's familiar, not because it's fulfilling. We say we're being responsible when what we really mean is I'm scared to want more because wanting more risks disappointment. It risks failure. It risks being seen. But here's the brutal truth we don't talk about. Safety is not the same thing as aliveness. You can be the safest person in the room and still be dying inside. The saddest stories aren't the ones of people who tried and failed. They're the ones of people who never tried at all, who stayed quiet, who stayed small, who waited for the right moment until life quietly passed them by. And old age becomes a trap, not because the body slows down, but because the soul never got to move freely, because we spent decades protecting ourselves from pain. And in doing so, we also protected ourselves from passion, from purpose, from presence. You start dying the moment you stop daring. And we think we have time, but time is not something we own. It's something we experience, moment by moment, choice by choice. So ask yourself this: what have you made more important than your own aliveness? Who told you that it was noble to shrink, safe to settle, wise to wait? And more importantly, what if they were wrong? There's a silence that feels like safety, but it's actually just slow self-abandonment. We all do it. We bite our tongues in the name of peace. We nod when we want to scream. We say it's fine when it's anything but. We carry truths like they're shameful secrets, when in reality they're the keys to our freedom. You know the moments I'm talking about, the ones when your heart clenches and your throat tightens and something in you says, this isn't right, but you don't say anything. Because you don't want to upset them, because you don't want to seem too emotional, because you've been taught that your truth is too much or not enough. So you swallow it, again and again and again. But here's what they never told us: every time you silence your truth to protect others, you betray yourself. Every time you choose their comfort over your clarity, you lose a piece of your voice. And it doesn't happen all at once. It's slow, it's subtle, it's quiet, until one day you wake up and realize you don't recognize yourself anymore. You've become a version of you that's palatable to everyone else, but completely foreign to your own soul. You start aging not when your body changes, but when your voice disappears. Because unspoken truths don't just vanish, they fester, they turn into resentment, they turn into regret, they turn into what ifs that haunt you in the stillness of the night. The hard truth: silence isn't strength if it comes at the cost of your self-respect. You want to know how people grow bitter in their older years? It's not because of what others did to them. It's because of what they never allowed themselves to say. All the truths they buried, all the boundaries they ignored, all the moments they had a chance to honor themselves, but chose approval instead. And maybe it served you once. Maybe silence kept you safe when you were younger. But now it's keeping you stuck. It's costing you connection. It's costing you authenticity. It's costing you your own damn life. So here's the invitation. Say the thing. Start with the smallest truth if you have to. Speak, even if your voice shakes. Speak before time takes away the chance. Because every truth you honor is a step back home to yourself. There's a version of you back there, smaller, softer, unsure, maybe scared, maybe angry, maybe numb, maybe just doing their best to survive a life they didn't feel ready for. And instead of offering that version of you grace, you've been offering them judgment. You replay the mistakes, the wrong turns, the missed chances. You criticize the choices they made, the people they trusted, the dreams they abandoned. And you whisper to yourself, why didn't I know better? But here's the truth you need to hear. You didn't know better because you hadn't lived enough yet to know better. And that's not failure. That's called being human. You were never supposed to have it all figured out. You were supposed to try, to stumble, to learn the hard way sometimes, to love people who couldn't love you back, because you needed to understand the shape of your own heart. And yet, we carry shame like it's a permanent scar. We tell ourselves stories like, I should have left sooner, I should have stood up for myself, I should have seen the red flags, I should have tried harder. But that version of you was already trying as hard as they could, with what they knew at the time, and holding on to resentment toward them. It's like being angry at a child for not knowing calculus. It's cruel, it's unfair, and it keeps you stuck in a loop where healing can't happen. Because the truth is, you can't age into wisdom until you make peace with the seasons of your ignorance. You can't grow into grace until you stop punishing yourself for being green, for being lost, for being beautifully, painfully in process. When you look back and all you feel is shame, you're missing the point. Look again, look softer, see the strength it took just to keep going, see the courage in how they tried to love, even when they didn't know how. See the bravery in every broken version of you that never stopped believing there was something more. Old age becomes a trap when we live inside regret, when we spend decades fighting ghosts of our own past instead of loving the soul who walked through hell just to get here. You don't have to love who you were, but you do need to stop resenting them. They got you here, and they deserve to rest, so let them. We talk about fear like it's something to be avoided, like it's a sign that we should back off. But the truth is, fear is often a compass, not a cage. The things that terrify you, they're usually the things that matter most. Telling someone how you really feel, starting over when you're already halfway through life, leaving what's familiar to chase something uncertain, choosing yourself, even when it means losing everything else. These aren't reckless decisions, they're holy moments. Moments when your soul whispers, this is it, this is your edge. And yet, most people run. They choose predictable pain over the possibility of freedom, because predictable pain is safe. It's known. But growth, that's wild, untamed, messy. So they tell themselves stories like, maybe next year, maybe when I have more time, maybe when I'm less scared. But here's the raw truth. Fear doesn't go away, it waits.
It follows.
It disguises itself as logic, as caution, as maturity. But what it's really saying is, stay here, stay small, stay stuck. And every time you listen to it, you reinforce the belief that fear gets to drive your life. But what if just once you didn't? What if you looked fear in the face and said, I see you, I feel you, and I'm doing it anyway, because you don't get to old age and suddenly feel fulfilled. That feeling, that fire, it's earned in the moments you said yes when everything in you wanted to run. It's born from the times you stood at the edge and jumped without a parachute because the ground you were standing on was already killing your spirit. People think courage means being fearless. It doesn't. Courage means shaking and sweating and crying and still taking the step. So what is the thing you've been putting off? The conversation, the decision, the leap? What would happen if you did it today? Not perfectly, not boldly, just honestly. You don't need to be fearless. You just need to be tired enough of regret that you finally choose movement over stagnation. Because one day, you'll look back, and it won't be the things you did that haunt you. It'll be all the things you didn't even try, and that's the trap. That's how old age quietly suffocates the soul, but not you. Not if you do the thing that terrifies you now. There's a specific kind of loneliness that no one warns you about. It's not the loneliness of being alone. It's the loneliness of being alone. It's the loneliness of being surrounded and still unseen. You can sit across the dinner table, share a home, a bed, a last name, and still feel like a ghost. Like your presence is tolerated, but your essence is invisible. And yet, we stay. We shrink ourselves to keep the peace. We dim our light so others don't feel insecure. We convince ourselves that at least they're still here, that crumbs are better than nothing. But let me ask you, when did your bare minimum become someone else's comfort zone? We hold on to people who don't even hold space for us because we're scared. Scared to be alone, scared to start over, scared that maybe this is the best it gets. So we rationalize the neglect. We call it loyalty. We call it history. We tell ourselves we're being the bigger person, but really, we're just afraid to grieve the life we hoped they'd rise into. And so we age, quietly aching for connection, but surrounded by people who only know the version of us that stayed small to make them comfortable. Here's what no one tells you. Letting go isn't betrayal. It's an act of self-honoring. It's you saying, my spirit deserves to be seen. My voice deserves to echo in a room that hears it. My presence is not something to be endured. It's something to be celebrated. You do not have to hate someone to walk away. You do not have to wait until they hurt you more. Sometimes you just have to admit they were never meant to go where you're going, and that's okay. You're allowed to outgrow people. You're allowed to want deeper conversations, truer love, richer friendships. You're allowed to say, I need more, I deserve more, because the trap isn't getting older. The trap is wasting your sacred years with people who don't see the fire in your eyes or the weight of your silence. You weren't meant to be half loved. You weren't meant to be tolerated. You were meant to be known, deeply, wildly, unapologetically. So if they can't hold that kind of space, let them go. And trust, the emptiness they leave behind isn't a void, it's room for something real. We tell ourselves this story, over and over again, that there will be a perfect moment, a sign, a window, a clear sky that tells us, okay, now you can begin. So we wait. We wait to feel less tired. We wait to feel more confident. We wait until we have enough money, enough clarity, enough proof that it'll work. And while we wait, life quietly moves on. Days blur, years dissolve, dreams that once felt electric begin to fade, not because they weren't meant for us, but because we waited too long to give them breath. The lie is that readiness is a prerequisite for action, but readiness is actually a result of action. You don't feel ready and then begin. You begin, clumsy, unsure, afraid, and become ready through the doing. But no one teaches us that. They teach us to prepare endlessly, to fix ourselves first, to rehearse the speech 100 times, to write the book only after we've lived the perfect ending, to hold off on love until we've healed every part of our past, and we mistake perfection for permission. But here's what I've learned. Life doesn't wait for you to be ready, it shows up. Raw, unfiltered, it invites you, today, to meet it as you are. And if you keep saying, not yet, you will run out of yets. You will blink, and time will have taken the thing you were waiting to feel prepared for. Old age becomes a trap when you live a life, rehearsing for a moment that never comes. When your legacy becomes a list of things you planned to do, but never started, because you were waiting for the fear to leave, the timing to align, the stars to give you a green light. But you know what the stars are saying. We've been ready. Where are you? So no, you're not too late. No, you're not too broken. No, you don't need more signs. You just need one bold, imperfect step. One declaration that you're done waiting. One moment where you say, I'm not ready, but I'm going anyway. Because real life, beautiful, brutal, breathtaking life, starts the minute you stop waiting for perfect. Conclusion: old age is not the enemy. Time is not your villain. What steals your life isn't the number of candles on a cake, it's the number of days you live on autopilot. The number of times you say, maybe later. The number of chances you let pass because you were afraid to look foolish, or feel unprepared, or risk your heart. You don't wake up one day and feel old. You wake up one day and realize you've been playing it safe for far too long. You let too many truths stay buried. You carried regret like it was your identity. You allowed fear to speak louder than desire. You stayed too long with people who never saw you. You kept waiting to feel ready when all life needed from you was to show up now. But here's the thing, it's not too late. Even if you're in your 30s or 70s or somewhere in between, even if you've made 1,000 wrong turns, even if you've burned bridges and built walls, even if you've wasted time, because as long as you're breathing, you are becoming. You are not done. So speak the truth you've been swallowing. Forgive the version of you who didn't know better. Do the terrifying thing. Let go of those who can't see you, and stop waiting for the green light that will never come. Give yourself permission to live out loud, to live messy, to live